What's up guys, YST here and welcome back to the channel. And today we've just been given the news regarding a new fragment fusion starting on Thursday, April 4th, so just around the corner. And she goes by the name of Eostrid Dreamsong from the Sylvan Watchers faction. Now when I was first reading the kit, I was like, that's a little bit of me, something that I kind of value on my account anyway, because I don't have champions such as Nekmofar or Lady Kimmy's. For anyone that watches my shard videos, you know I'm always screaming out their names because they've got a kit that I hold to a high regard. So before we get into the kit, let's just read off what Raid said and then we'll break it down for ourselves. So it says that Eostrid is designed to be a versatile support unit with great buffing and debuffing capabilities, turn meter manipulation and passive healing. You'll find a kit useful in various areas of the game, especially in dungeons, the Hydra, and in your arena teams. So there she is, right above me, the new Sylvan Watcher Legendary. And interestingly, she reminds me of one of the epic Sylvan Watchers. So if I just bring this off, Wirren in the Silken looks very, very similar. Could be a bit of a reskin vibe going on, who knows? But definitely a fan of the aesthetics. But let's just start off with the A3 on this one because I feel like the A3 and A2 is the highlight skills of her kit. So with the Dreamsong, she places a 30% increased speed buff and a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 3 turns, so a great duration, and also fills their turn meters by 15%, and then will grant an extra turn. Now this will allow you to lead into the Burst of Spring, which attacks all enemies, and has a 100% chance once booked of placing a decreased speed and a weakened debuff for 2 turns, whilst also manipulating their turn meter by 15%. So it has a little bit of a Deacon Armstrong / Nekmofar vibe going on, right? So for players out there that don't have these champions that can do increase and decrease, I feel like she has a lot of value for the vast majority of players out there. Like, just to put it into context, on my account, so if we head into my champions, because I was interested as well, I was reading, I was like, do you know what, there's so many times when I'm trying to build a Hydra team, I'm like, I have to bring in a separate decreased speed champion and a separate increased speed one and maybe an increased attack elsewhere as well. And she just brings it all in for 2 active abilities. So let's just go into buffs and debuffs. We can go increased speed. Then we go debuffs into decreased speed. So champions that can do both these roles. And these are the only ones on my account after 5 years that can fulfill this role. So Shamrock can do it with a 3-turn cooldown conditional they're above 50% HP. And then also an increased speed here as well. Actually very underrated Shamrock. I'm a big fan of him. We got 2 Hanorok, but it's a single target decreased speed with an increased speed. Top tier champion, great passive. And outside of that, it's kind of self-increased speeds, right? So she does it on herself. Nice decreased speed A1, and it's very limited, to say the least, on these options that can do both of these roles, right? And that is very, very important for the Hydra boss to bring those in. But there is some other ones, like, for example, if we go into the index, Raid, can you stop trying to sell me stuff? We got the new mythical champion in Gizmak the Terrible, who does it, right? Extra turn, increased speed into decreased speed and burn, so that's phenomenal. In the Lizardman, the most popular choice, I would say, is Nekmofar, my most wanted champion in the game. And this is probably one of the main reasons I may go for the fusion. I was saying to myself, please Raid, can you just make a trash one so I could skip it? Because I am so dry on resources, but I'll think about it. We'll see. I probably will end up going for it in the end. But, you know, increased speed, grants an extra turn meter fill by 30%, so a little bit more value coming out from Nekmo here. But of course, she brings in increased attack with that same ability, so kind of makes up for it, right? Same cooldowns. Leads into this one with a decreased speed and a leech. So the only differences here is you get an increased attack and a less turn meter fill, and then you get the weaken instead of the leech. And I honestly feel like, you know, if you're bringing in those Missionarchies or champions that place decreased defense, and let's just say your Lydia is in your main team and you're struggling to get a weaken out there, you know, you could definitely bring her in alongside a decreased defense champion, and get both of your roles covered. So, you know, she could have a lot of value, right? As well as a decreased attack A1 AoE. So, and he's got a speed aura universal 19%, so overall is Nekmofar the better choice? Maybe by a margin. I value Leech to a high regard, but, you know, if you don't have a Nekmo, this champion could be one for you, right? Another option could maybe be from the Shadowkin. We've got Lady Kimmy, another champion that I've always wanted, who brings in block buffs, increased speed, increased accuracy, as well as the decreased speed as well. So this is a phenomenal synergy coming out from Lady Kimmy. But once again, you don't get the weaken and you don't get the increased attack. So it just comes down to what you value more as a player. And of course, we need 3 teams, right? Of 6 champions. So You need 18 champions in total, and even if it doesn't go into your Nightmare team, I'm pretty sure this new champion may fit into your Brutal or your Hard difficulties, right? So, okay, let's bring this straight back up again. So, extra turn into this, I'm a big fan of this overall. So, with the Life Bloom on a 1-turn cooldown, could be a little bit nifty, I'll explain why. So, whenever this champion or an ally has their turn meter increase, heals all allies based on their max HP. The percentage of the value of the heal is equal to half of the turn meter increase. So let's just say you've got other champions in your team that's doing a turn meter fill. It could potentially mess this up being on a 1-turn cooldown, right? I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure exactly how much of a value that turn meter one is. Will it just be like, for instance, a 7.5% of their max HP if you do a 15% turn meter fill? It's an interesting one. Like, it's maybe not something to bank on, but a little bit of extra heals with the passive could definitely be helpful for players out there, right? She does have an increased speed in arena battles by 28%, and I was struggling to think of, would I use her in endgame arena? Like, she does have that uses like a Deacon Armstrong, like I mentioned, with the increase extra turn into the decrease with a weaken. So maybe that can be pretty good for players out there, right? Progressing in the game. The main thing will be the aura. But if you've got a Mans the Magnificent or Sun Wukongs, they bring in a very similar effect. So you may not need this one. And of course, champions such as Arbiter have a better value as well. But overall, I wish it would maybe be 19% all battles, like a Necmofar, so you could bring it everywhere in the game and get that value. But they've decided to go with 28% in Arena. But let me know if there's something in here that you feel like is, wow, I would love this for my Arena team. With the Slumber Wisp, attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance once booked of placing a sleep debuff. Okay. If the target is under the conditions she places, so decrease speed and weaken, it will become a 100% chance of placing a sleep. So in Arena, you know, maybe you could just sleep enemies. Very similar to a Siphi, right? Very similar. But you would have to enable it to get the 100% chance. So it could be a little bit annoying for your opponents, especially if you've got single target abilities for someone like a Rotos, for instance. So you're not waking them up 24/7. Could be a nice little off-topic pick, maybe for your tag team arena battles, or maybe some progression in the Sand Devils Necropolis. An A1 sleep could definitely have some value, right? But overall, the main value for me as a player, correct me if I'm wrong, would be out this synergy here. I'm not really focusing on the fluff around it. Like, it's very, very strong. Like I showed, like over all of these years, I still don't have someone that could do increase and decrease. Of course, many of you guys may have teams out there already and might not need a need for this champion, or you've got better options, but you know, it really comes down to the individual player, and if you need this for your account is the way that I would break this down. So overall, guys, let me know in the comment section below. Is this somebody that you're very interested in? Once again, this will be a fragment fusion. And the way that works is you go around the events, the tournaments, your artifact enhancements, for instance. You gather up all of those fragments. And then towards the end, you'll get yourself the Eostrid Dreamsong. And of course, you can hold off on those as well for future CVC points. So I know a lot of players hold that to regards as well. But will I be going for it? I don't know, man. I think so. I think I will. Like, I've recently been building up Padrake, who's a very strong champion. Turn meter fills, increased speed. I'm getting my decreased speed from Snick Track. But there is a bit of room for improvement in my brutal compositions because I'm using most of my top tier champions in my Nightmare team. Like, of course, you could just bring in... let me just bring up some more examples here, actually. So, you know, there is Reiselvarg from the Skinwalkers. He was a previous fusion. He brings in increased speed, increased accuracy. We got Leech as well, some nice damage around the board with a universal aura. So if you do have decreased speed elsewhere and you can combine them together, of course you might not need one champion to do both those roles. But if you're a player that doesn't have those multiple champions for multiple teams, you know, you could definitely think of her to bring her into the team, right? But where else would I be using her? Like, of course you can go, let me just move myself out of the way. Like, decrease speed, increase speed. You know, you could bring it into dungeon progression. Maybe in the Doom Tower, you can use those sleep mechanics as well. Like if you're decrease speeding the waves. With the weaken as well, amplify your damage. Could have some value. And then let's just say you're facing a Mortu Macabre or something, but she is the wrong affinity, being the Force, right? So maybe not. You have some nifty ways to use that sleep. Potentially even in faction wars, right? If there's some champions giving you problems. Any other champions I can think of here? Like, Snick Track is someone that I use for decreased speed, but not turn meter fills. But why I said the Deacon Armstrong thing is he does a 15%, grants an extra turn, leads into this, decreased defense, but she just places the weaken, right? and then you get a better aura out of it as well. Honestly, I wish that her A1 had a leech debuff very similar to Deacon. Honestly. You know, heal by 18% of the damage inflicted kind of blends with the kit a little bit more for me anyway. But I do see that they're just trying to squeeze her into some kind of arena compositions out there. But for me personally, I feel like she has a lot more value in these PvE areas in the game. What's this, by the way? Primal event. Oh, if I had a shard here, I'd have probably went for this. Maybe could have got a Gizmac and saved myself out on this fusion. But yeah, guys, that is going to be all for today's video. We don't need to drag this on too long. Let me know your overall thoughts in the comment section below. I'm interested to find out. And have an amazing rest of your weekend. And I'll see you all in a video soon. Peace.